Naughty. Whoa. Naughty. No. Damn it.
Life's been kind of a blur.
You don't say. It's pretty wild how much is going on at one time these days.
The final countdown?
The final countdown.
Ding-a-ding-ding.
We have to do one of these, don't we?
Oh, yeah. We be getting it, dude.
Boop.
La Colombe.
That was a Jinx can pop right there. Rich mocha.
You just built an antelope bow.
I did. I was on the on the firing line right now, man. I only have so much time. We're in August now, and I go hunting on like the 22nd, so I don't have more time than you have, because you just built a mule deer bow, So and that's all broadhead tuned and ready to go and tricky. But no, I've still got. I put a sight tape on it 15 minutes ago as a preliminary. That's nowhere near close. Was what was on my Reckoning SS. I just pulled that up and printed it because it was.
Are you going to have a sight tape fast enough?
No, probably not. Well, Archer's Advantage, you can make whatever you want. So I'll have to go on and put a default in it. I just threw it on there so I had a rough guide when I start backing up tonight because as soon as we get done with this and wrap, I'm running over to my cousin's house is where I shoot my long distance stuff.
So you can go sight in for 200 yards?
We'll see how far I go. I know I just shot the both of the chronograph and it's 360.
360?
And that's quite a bit faster than what I shot last year. So I imagine I'm going to get...
Give people your shaft length. I mean, give them your specs.
So arrow-wise, I'm proving a point. It's pretty much my purpose. I'm shooting a lighted knock on a Rip XV 350 with a prototype 30 grain titanium insert, 100 grain point, and some 2.3 hybrids right now because a special DCA Super Saber vein not in existence yet hasn't made it to the shop for me to play with, but he's making a smaller version of it that I want to play with for mechanicals. And yeah, that arrow is about 345 grains right now, which is perfectly legal in the state of Idaho. And I'm shooting it out of a SX80 Bowtech at 360 feet a second right now. I haven't tweaked it, nothing. I built it Sunday, just put strings on it, put a rest on it, put a sight on it. Hadn't even squared the sight up or leveled anything. Didn't record any of it because I just need to get the bow tuned so I can get it shooting and practice with it so I can get it sighted and set it aside, and it'll just be my antelope bow. And then I'll end up elk hunting with whatever one of the 4 bows that I've built I like the best, and I'll hopefully finish that up next week sometime.
Antelope's a really good season opener for a person that can hunt them. I mean, you get to spot and stock stuff or, ambush them and potentially shoot them, make a longer shot if you need to.
Yeah, and they're not a super hardy animal, so they go down pretty easy.
Right.
So if you screw something up, you got a better chance of
Hence
recovery.
the 350 grain Twizzler stick you're sending downrange.
Yeah, although I'm really, really tempted to shoot something that light through an elk just to shut people up. Because you can if you're using the right kind of broadhead. It has everything to do with the broadhead.
Sure.
You shoot a good broadhead on that kind of weight, you're still going to go through as long as you don't, square the shoulder blade, which you shouldn't be trying to get through that. You should be trying to avoid that, my opinion. But just my opinion.
Just your humble opinion.
I've killed my cousin shot 4 or 5 bulls with 320 grain arrows.
Was that his 420 bow?
Well, we've built 2 bows for him that were high speed, heavy poundage when we were both younger. I never built a 400 plus foot a second bow for myself because I always thought it was just too much. That was too extreme, too light an arrow. But the first one of his we built, we just got it fast. We were trying to go light. And it was like 360, 370 with 320 grain arrows or something like that. And he shot an elk at 80 yards and clean pass through with 3-blade, fixed blade broadhead, a shuttle T back in the day, buried in the ground behind it.
Dang, at 80?
At 80.
Wow.
And it was through the lungs. It was a good shot.
Good shot, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good shot. And he nicked 1 rib. Didn't hit both ribs, but hit 1.
This isn't Cousin Nick. This is
Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my speed freak cousin who doesn't practice enough, who will never listen to this, so I can bash him all I want and it won't matter.
Nice. Yeah.
But people that know him might actually listen to this and then give him a really hard time about not practicing ever.
Well, in Idaho, North Idaho, 20 yards. I mean, you're good, right?
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say that. He shot yesterday. Actually, he messaged me and told me that things just driving tax. He came by Monday and there was a couple of tweaks need to be made with his bow before he started shooting it for this year. And he's not a year-round guy. He's a pull it out 3 weeks before season, scramble, beg his cousin to fix whatever's wrong, and then go hunting.
Who's practiced more this year, him or Jake Webb?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. Probably him. I don't know if Jake shot. Jake claims he shot. He came out to the range a couple weeks ago and shot once with his lady friend.
Now that our Hot Wings challenge is over, who do you think? Was there a winner?
Was that supposed to be a winner and a loser?
I don't know. But
I don't know.
Did you have give the post game report? Was day 2 bad?
Not at all.
Me neither.
Not in the slightest. Now I kind of want to do it full fledged and really suffer. I think we should do that shooting version that Jake was suggesting.
Yeah, well,
that would be a ball.
well, we got 10 bottles of hot sauce that are going to get used again.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I boxed them all back up in order, and they're in the same box we got them in. They're ready to go.
it's really all about number 10, man. I mean,
Yeah, well, I'd like to eat a wing with 8 because everybody says 8's where it gets bad. That's actually tossed. That's like the whole wings
tossed and sauced.
tossed and sauce, not just a drop on it. Because I was scared to death of 8 because everybody warned me about 8, so I didn't put very much on.
Yeah, on all the hotter ones, I stayed, right around dime size dab or whatever, and number 10 got real. 8 and 9 was hot, but it wasn't
But
unmanageable.
that was the first time we all went, "Oh,
Yeah.
this hasn't been hard. We need to put more on,"
Yeah.
and that sucked. Like that really was not fun. I did not enjoy that at all, not even a little bit.
How are you fixing to shoot an antelope? You're going to do it like you spot and stalking, you ambushing, you.
Well, it's a combination. Typically spot and stock, but if you
Are
can
you
tell
willing
which
to
way
sit
they're
a ground
moving,
blind?
no.
No.
I would if it was just me, but the guys I hunt with, none of them will sit in a ground blind.
I wouldn't.
So,
I
yeah.
wouldn't. I mean, I know it can be effective, but damn,
Yeah.
you want to talk about a boring ass hunt? Sweating your beans off in the middle of
Oh, yeah.
the freaking desert, dude.
Well, you just strip down to your underwear in a blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
And bat out the rattlesnakes as they come in.
That's true. They probably are coming in there. Oh, there's shade. Let's go in
Shade,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why you do a tower blind. No rattlesnakes. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Are you selling tower blinds to the website yet?
I don't know how I can ship that thing.
Right.
It's so big.
For pickup
I'm willing to
only?
try if somebody wants one, but it's probably going to be $300-$400 to ship the stinking thing. I know the company that sells the one that I'm carrying doesn't ship it to.
Do you have all of your blinds built?
No, half of it's done. This weekend we were going to take my daughter up to the lake and do her senior pictures because she's going to be a senior this year. Shout out to Lena. But we just look at the weather where we're going. It's supposed to be like thunderstorms in the middle of the day.
I like that.
So, but that I don't know how that would do for trying to have a girl look pretty with her makeup and whatnot. It starts raining.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have to put that off for a week or two, and I can't go past 2 because then I'm gone. So, because I'm leaving. My hunt's the 22nd through the 27th or something like that. So, I'll only have that following weekend. Then I'm into September, and then that's really a disaster.
How many years have you done this hunt?
This will be my 3rd year.
Are you 2 for 2?
No, I did not get one the first year. In fact, none of us got one the first year. Where Justice and Brandon, who were the ones that were always inviting me to go, they've got antelope like 8 out of 10 years, both of them. And all 3 of us tagged out last year. Bobby California did not tag out, and Pappy didn't tag out. But Bobby came back later and tagged out. So I don't think Pappy got an antelope at all. But Pappy likes to just be with the boys and drive. He's not hunting real hard.
No.
He still gets out and hunts. He still gets out and goes after it, but it's about being with
It's
the
a
boys.
different speed.
I could not let go of an arrow and be elated with the time that I get down there. It's just such a great time.
What's your hot take on antelope meat?
It's good, especially if they're eating in ag fields. Like if they're coming out of the scab in the mountains down to like alfalfa and then back up into the mountains, it's really good.
You think it makes a difference, though?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, if they're just eating sage, and I found the same thing with mule deer that are in the dry country.
Okay.
Like that, if mule deer are eating alfalfa and then going up into the sage, versus eating in the sage and that's all they're eating, they're going to taste like sage. So
God, I got to get a sage buck because I've heard both, and I don't know.
it's probably worthwhile if you do shoot
Yeah.
a sage buck to just cut a piece of it off and cook it and eat it before you do anything. And then if it tastes like I think it's going to take, then you take it home, make jerky and sausage out of
It's a
it.
sausage buck, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always a little astounded how often people turn their wild game into sausage and jerky and shit.
I think that really stems back from not
pretty
knowing
common.
I think a lot of people don't know how to cook it,
Yeah.
how to prepare it, or how to manage it in the field so it doesn't taste bad.
I think that's a big one.
That's a big one. If you take care of it right and it's done right, it's really good.
I think really when you talk about antelope and bear, like in these hot, or mule deer in a hot season, like you got to get the skin off. You got to get the quarters off. You got to get some wind circulating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of hunting down there is we're only 30 minutes from a walk-in cooler.
Yeah.
So we can get it as long as, it's not a rough recovery. Every direction you go, there's a road in the bottom and roads in the top. So you're not going to have to go that far. And they're light. Each guy grabs a leg and you just take off. You can go as far as you need to go. I think Justice and I drug his downhill to a road. Pappy knew the farmer that was below us, so he called him and said, "Hey, can we use your road to go get an antelope?" And cut off like 500 yards of dragging an antelope, and only had to drag it 200 yards, and it took us. I think we stopped once. Like it was all downhill and dragging. We stopped to get through the fence and stopped like one other time to switch sides, so we were using the other arms. But yeah, drag it like quick.
And when it's all said and done with an antelope, what do you think you get? 20, 25 pounds kind of thing?
I think it was more than that. I think it was
Really?
probably more like 40.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, but good meat, really good meat. And I want to say, I quartered. I don't even know if we deboned it. No, we had to debone it because you have to take the bones out of transfer states. So yeah, but it was good. I mean, I ended up making jerky and sausage out of it because I was nervous, so I didn't get to try it, and that was my own fault. I meant to keep it backstrap and just cut up the backstrap and steak it and see how it is. And I forgot when I went to the butcher. I gave him all of it. I was going to keep one strap and just steak it up. But I had like nothing in my freezer at that time, and I was really ready for some
Desperation
sausage.
was setting in.
Yeah. Yeah, now my freezer's so freaking full, I'm a little nervous. That what's going to happen? I just know what's going to happen. Is I'm going to have a really successful year, and I'm
you're
going to
need another freezer.
And I'm going to need. Dude, I have 3.
It's a good problem to have, though.
I have 3. I don't know if I can justify a 4th.
That's the big dick of the hunting space when you got full freezers.
Yeah, and I've been eating between all the red meat I have. I've been eating it once or twice a day, every day, and I still have a lot. But a buffalo goes a long way, and I killed 6 things last year, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You had some bears.
between bears, a couple deer, an antelope, buffalo. I mean, I shot a lot of stuff, but I mean, let's see. I have 2 bear tags in Idaho, an antelope, an elk, a deer, Washington deer, elk, bear, cougar, which I'm not going to shoot a cougar, but in 2 bear. So I'm holding like 10 tags.
But you're likely to get 2 bears.
We'll see. Like Idaho, I still haven't hunted bears yet. I really need to. Like
Yeah.
I did the same thing last year too. I bought 2 tags and never went hunting.
But don't we get 2 Washington bears?
Yeah, I think you can actually get 3 now, but I think you have to go to the
3.
other side of the state to get the 3rd one. I don't think you can shoot all 3 in the same spot.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that.
But there's a lot of bears up where I am in Washington. You'll see them out at distance. So if you don't mind shooting one with a rifle, it's not that tough. And a lot of times when it's dry, if there's not a lot of water around and you just hang around water, you're going to see bears eventually if you're just patient. It's just having the time though, and with my schedule and the amount of content I got to make with how busy the shop is, with having kids, and this year will be my youngest daughter's senior year of volleyball, and volleyball is in September at the high school level. So, and I don't really want to miss games, but I haven't seen the schedule yet. But I'm betting there's a good chance I'm going to miss games. If I'm hunting anywhere within like 3 hours, I think I'll drive back for the game and then drive back to hunting. Maybe 6 hours with a driving, but I mean, there's only got so many games left to actually watch,
Yeah, senior year, and then that's your final out of the house.
Yeah, I assume. I mean, my older daughter stayed home while she went to school,
Right.
so she'll
But
be
in
a
theory,
couple
I
more
mean,
years with her.
she's done plum graduated, so
Yeah,
whatever happens next.
I have a feeling this one might do the same, but we'll see. I wouldn't mind her hanging around a couple more years. I kind of like her. I'll keep her.
Yeah, yeah, she's a good kid.
She is, and she seems a little more interested as time goes on, but we'll see. But at that age, you can just be all over the place, really. So, but yeah, good kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we think about? I mean, I kind of know what you think, but we haven't really talked about it on here. Let's talk about bowstrings a little bit.
Okay.
You show up, you buy a brand new Hoyt Matthews Bowtech. How are their stock strings?
Garbage. I mean, some are better than others. What comes on a Hoyt isn't all that bad. What comes on a Bowtech isn't all that bad. But most of them aren't intended to get more than like 3,000, 5,000 shots max. You're going to wear that out really fast if you're shooting a lot. I'm going to plead the fifth on Matthews strings. I'm not even going to talk about it. I strongly encourage everyone to change their factory strings out from the get-go, period. And the reality of that is the hardest part of a bow is getting it tuned, right? And what makes a bow stay tuned is the strings and cables. It's not all the other gear.
Sure.
It's the strings and cables that create variance over time. Yeah, the bearings can shift, or you can have a couple of things happen outside of the strings, but 90% of it or 95% of it is the strings. So why in the world would you skimp on that? Like, the one thing that keeps your bow functioning the same is the one thing you can easily control. I'd put good aftermarket strings on any bow. I won't even, like my own stuff, I won't even touch it. Like, I'm not even going to put my time into this bow at all until I put brand new strings on it that are good. Because what comes on a manufacturer's bow is typically not good quality. No different than when you buy a Ford, it's got crap tires on it. Mm-hmm. Or you buy a new Chevy, it's got crap tires on it. Why would they put really good tires on it? Because that would raise the cost of the vehicle, and then they'd have to sell the vehicle for more, and you complain about how much the vehicle was.
Exactly.
So they just put the least expensive functional thing they can put on there. And that's not to say that, bow manufacturers are making garbage. They're not. It's way better than what they used to make. There was stuff, oh my God, 20 years ago, strings were so bad. Like, fire it 3 times and readjust your strings and cables kind of bad. It was terrible. But today, I can't honestly say that any high-end bow really comes with really great strings. Some of them are better than others, but none of them compare to a good aftermarket.
My recent experience is the stock strings are on that Hoyt, and they have held true thus far. They haven't done any goofy stuff, so that's cool.
Hoyt's one of the better stock ones.
I probably got 500 to 700 arrows through it. My peep stayed still, but the back wall is a little mushier, which I don't hate. I guess I'm still figuring it out, but I don't hate it because it does give me some type of feedback when I'm shooting. Like, I can feel it stretching, break. For good, bad, or for worse. There's a little mush there. You got thoughts on that?
Mush means you're probably out of time. It shouldn't feel mushy.
No.
If it's mushy, you
stretch.
got one of your cables is probably settled.
Yeah.
And that's really where the difference comes between really good stuff and okay stuff is your servings will separate relatively quickly. When your serving separates, that actually changes the length of the cable, so it pulls it out of time. So if you're getting some separation where it rolls through the grooves, it's probably one of them's probably separated more than the other and giving you a little bit of timing orientation. Out of stock stuff, like, theirs isn't really terribly bad. I think I've had the best luck over time of stock with Bowtechs, but that doesn't mean they're great. They've put a lot of time and energy into trying to make stuff that holds up reasonably well and typically doesn't stretch, but they all do it. It's one of those things. You're not going to throw a whole bunch of money at a string.
Yeah.
When it's not going to raise the price of your product.
And consumers are driving prices down.
Well, yeah, and everybody's got a preference in what kind of string they like anyway, and the odds that the string that you put on there is going to be the one they like is pretty low.
So, if we're going aftermarket, what's good?
Most reliable I've ever had is gas. Now, I'm sure there's probably people listening to this that had a bad experience at some point with one or the other, and I'm sure there's people listening to this that say, yes, they're great, I've never had a problem. Every single solitary string manufacturer is going to screw up a set of strings now and again. They're going to miss something in the process, and you're going to have a bad experience with a set. It is going to happen. But I've had the least amount of bad experience with them over any ones that I've used before. Now, granted, I hadn't ordered strings for anybody in like 3 years or 4 years, so they could have evolved, and everybody could have evolved and done a better job. I know those A3s that you were using seemed to hold up really good. It didn't seem to stretch.
I bet you I got 1,200 to 2,000 arrows through that bow, and they held well. Yeah. I was going to say the gas strings that I have on the Bowtech, I probably have 3,000 arrows through, and very similar to the A3. They haven't done anything.
Yeah.
They still look good too, by the way.
Yeah, the proprietary blend that they use eliminates the pill, which is what most people are when they're using Bloodline. They're going for because it's like, oh, they don't fuss, they don't fuss. Well, yeah,
which is
but
true too.
yeah, but neither does the proprietary blend that Gas uses from the BCY makes it, but you can only get Ghost from sorry Gas, and that's only in a white or a camo color. That's it.
Yeah, and it's been solid. A lot of arrows through it. It's held well. Looks good.
That's what I've used so far, and I haven't gotten any pill on mine.
Yeah.
Like I did not make my own strings. I'll say
And
it
then
again.
there's-
I didn't make my own. I know how.
Yeah.
I can do it relatively quickly. I make a really good product, and I didn't make my own. I'm using theirs.
And
I've
there's-
had no problems.
There's all these little boutique manufacturers. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually wild how many people make strings. Like,
Well, it's the barrier to entry is pretty low.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that expensive to make your own strings, but for every one that kicks up, there's one that quits doing it because they realize they're not making a lot of money and there's a
No.
lot of time involved, and you can only make them so fast.
it's a for passion deal.
Yeah, I mean, we started looking at what really stopped us. It wasn't just that I couldn't keep a guy employed. It was I was putting a pen to it and what I had to pay somebody. And if it takes you an hour and a half to make a set, like a good hour and a half, and you're paying that guy $25 an hour, the labor costs like 40. And for those of you who don't understand what employing people looks like, add another 30% of employment tax on top of that.
Yeah.
So now that 40 is 50 to 55.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include material. Material is probably another $20, somewhere around there. So now my cost on making a set of strings is like $75 to $80. I pay less than that for a good aftermarket on and then resell it. Because there's always good margin in accessories and strings. They expect you to make a decent amount of money on it. And I was like looking at him going, well, do I really want to pay more and deal with the headache of having to have an employee? And for one reason or another, when you're the one making them, people seem to think they can pester you and make you do it quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't typically do that when you're ordering them. That's the one thing I did really dislike about making strings is the public seemed to think they could kind of harass you a little bit and shave a couple of days off of,
Yeah.
or get theirs bumped up in order or
Yeah.
something if they bugged you about it.
Well, I got a hunt coming up.
Everybody's got a hunt coming up, man. My favorite one this time of year, just totally favorite. I'm really gonna fuck with somebody too when they do it. Dude, don't you know hunting's in 3 weeks? And we're like, I'm gonna look at him real puzzled, turn around and go, Dirty, did you know hunting season was in 3 weeks? Like, come on, man. We know when hunting season is. Everybody's coming in here is in a fucking hurry. Everybody waited too long. If you're in my shop in August, something went really wrong or you're shit with planning. You just are. And you need to own that to yourself and not put it on the people who are trying to help you. And people frequently, out of frustration, put it on the people trying to help them. This time of year will burn out more employees and make more people want to quit than any other time of year.
Yeah, 'cause
and it's usually because the customer that comes in isn't grateful.
You're getting the
and
worst
they're-
customers.
You're getting the worst customers that don't plan. And it's always your fault.
Yeah.
That, you guys tuned this 3 years ago and it doesn't shoot like it should now. It's like, dude, it's 3 years. It's like saying you haven't changed your oil in your car for 3 years and it doesn't run right. Duh.
Yeah.
It requires maintenance, regular maintenance,
Yeah.
consistent maintenance. You can't do that. Just, this time of year it gets rough. But it hasn't been bad so far. I mean, we're ahead the most we've ever been. Normally our bow backlog on a daily basis is about 12 to 14 bows behind. We're 3 bows behind right now.
That's awesome.
But I have 4 or 5 techs now. I used to do 2. So we can turn something around really fast. And one other cool thing that Gas did this year is they pre-made a bunch of black out of the most common bows. So if your customer's in a hurry, you can call them up and get a black string. Good odds that they already have it built and they can ship it that day. So instead of it taking 3 weeks, it might be here in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, there's like a kind of a new crew of techs these last couple months. They're doing good, dude. They're crushing.
Yeah, they're getting better.
Yeah.
They'll get it down to where they can work faster. Now, pretty much all of them are capable of doing a good job. It just takes a while to do a good job.
Yeah.
But when you really get good at it, you can do a good job relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And that's necessary.
Young Michael Allman can shoot, dude.
Yeah, Mikey knows how to shoot. That's for sure, man.
Have you got to shoot with him yet, or just watch him shoot, or
Nope.
enough to
No, I've
hang
heard.
out? Yeah.
I've heard remember he told me he was gonna be the best in the world someday or something like that, and he's got a real potential to do it. He really
Yeah.
does. He's right there with a lot of the best shooters in the state,
Yeah,
and beyond.
I
So he's
agree.
got a good chance.
I've gotten to watch a handful
And
of
he's
those
young.
guys that are really good, and
Yeah.
I don't know. He's relatively new, couple, 3-4 weeks, something like that.
Oh, working?
Yeah.
It's been since July, early July or late June.
Yeah,
Somewhere around there.
greater month, whatever.
So a little over a month.
But
Yeah,
I got to
he's worked in archery shop
catch him in
before.
passing here or there, and
Yeah.
I don't remember what he said to me, but we were sitting down at the counter talking about something. He said something about shooting your bow, and he said something about believing in yourself or something about being accountable or believing in yourself. And all I thought was like the light went off in my head. I was like, holy shit, this young guy is like, he's got a head on his shoulders. Like he's mentally, he's strong.
Yeah, he exudes a lot of the traits I learned when I was studying some of the videos back when people made videos about how to be a better archer and a lot of the mental stuff. Like there was a whole Jay Bars had a whole video on the mental game, just talked about how you address things, how you talk about things, how you prepare for things, and he does everything that when he talks about stuff, he's talking about stuff like that. You can't shoot a perfect score unless you've convinced yourself mentally that you can. You'll never do it otherwise.
Yeah.
So you have to have the utmost belief in yourself, and he most definitely has the utmost belief in himself, which is, if you get to know most people really well, a lot of times they doubt themselves.
It's hard.
He does not.
It's hard.
He does not. He's definitely got the potential.
I've learned some of that stuff adjacent to archery, but never specifically from archery people, other than just being around people who are successful with the sport and just watching how they carry themselves and being able to ask some questions, kind of getting inside the mind of a madman with some of these guys who can really shoot well. But yeah, man, when he said something to me and I was like, oh my gosh, and this was before I knew he was good at shooting his bow.
Yeah.
And then we did the Silver Mountain thing, and after day one, he was in the lead, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And we had shot once prior to this outside shooting 3D, and I was just like making content, shooting stuff, and I guess I wasn't paying that good of attention because I didn't pick up right away like, oh, this guy is really, really freaking good.
Yeah.
And and then after Silver Mountain, he's like, yeah, I shot whatever 236, and I'm like, wait, Jason and I just shot 200. You shot what? I know, and I kind of knew what won there last year. I'm like, you're going to be in the lead or close to the lead.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he went into that with the lead, and in day two almost ended up winning it. But that's like a regional event that you got to be sharp, dude. There's professionals there.
There's several pros at that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no slouches. It's a competitive shoot. And he does well. He really does. He went to Darrington and was competing for second, like in the second day, and his entire group shot the wrong target, and honor system took zeros, and the people running the tournament tried to give him the points, and he wouldn't take them. He's got a lot of integrity. I think he ended up fourth or fifth or something with a zero because they shot the wrong target.
With a zero for 14 targets or something crazy.
No, it wasn't like that.
Oh, it was a few targets though.
I want to say it was one target or two before they realized they had done the wrong thing. So I thought he still finished relatively decent, but it was out of contention for placing. But it takes a lot of integrity to do that. A lot of people would have not acknowledged that they technically broke a rule, and he did. And he's like I said, he's young. I think he's 20 or 19 or.
That's old in Bodie Turner years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's way behind Bodie. Got some catching up to do with beating up on Bodie.
No, it's cool. It's cool. He's got a head on his shoulders, and he works hard at it.
Yeah, and he's also like, this is his real goal. Like when he hired on, he's like, I can't work on Friday or Saturday because I'm going to tournaments. Like he works 3 days a week. That's it. He works Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He works bell to bell. He gets there an hour before we open. Just works on bows all day, helps customers, and goes home and is trying with all of his power to be a professional archer. That's his goal. That's what he wants to do, and he's committing to it the way that you would need to be successful. So I think he's got a real good chance at it.
Yeah, I see it. I see that, and I think it's cool. It's cool to watch.
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast with Levi called On the Line.
Yeah.
And man, I wish there was like more content you could consume with him just diving into the weeds. Because a lot of what you see is TV stuff, which is more polished, and you don't really get a behind the scenes of what's going on. You get the flashes of the hunt, which they do a really good job at filming. Him and Micah are like a freaking dream team. And then, you get clips here or there on Instagram. But this was cool to actually listen to him talk about they actually did a lot of talk about tinkering with the bow. I mean, first he said, you got to be able to shoot. But once you get to a point that you can shoot, really there are little things with your bow that can just help it click.
Yeah.
Whether that is your draw length, your arrow setup. I mean, he went down the whole list. So that was interesting. But the moral of it was one of the guys there was like, hey, I changed my draw length and like my pin float just went down. And Levi was like, yeah, that can happen to the 16th of an inch or an eighth of an inch.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, when you really get it dialed in, when you get something that holds like that, he's like, take all your measurements, write it down. I've heard you say that.
Yep. If you find a bow that you just magically shoot better than anything, measure that bow's draw length, measure the peep height.
Yeah.
Those are probably likely things that you're making a difference in how accurate you are. Because it happens to fit you just right.
Yeah. And anyway, he went on about that, but to think about a 16th of an inch or an eighth of an inch making like a significant difference in some people's pin float, I mean, I don't know, man. That's pretty amazing to me.
Yeah, that's like a very small, minute amount. I don't think I'm good enough to notice that much of a difference, honestly.
Yeah.
I haven't played with it enough. I need to, but I haven't shot a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just still kind of playing my games.
Well, and there's so many parallels between archery and golf. Like those guys that are competing at the top, they're like always looking for an edge.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it makes them worse because there's like that pursuit of perfection is what led them to there. But then also sometimes it will deter them from there. They'll get back, but it's like, it's hard. I don't know. It's just interesting. There's so many parallels. Like the people at the top are working hard. And like Levi says, he's like, I feel like I exist around 95%. We're always just trying to scrape to get that extra 1, 2, or 3% to get that little edge. And
yeah, it's not too terribly hard to get really good at archery. It's very difficult to be great at archery.
Yeah.
There's a small difference between the two.
I know he was saying something very similar. Yeah. But he was also a big advocate for working on your bow. You
have to.
Yeah.
At that level, you have to. Honestly, at mid-level, you really have to get good at it.
Well, the more I'm learning, the more I'm like, I'm more bullish on it. Like, it's not a should, it's really a must.
I agree.
Unless you just want to be recreationally good, that's fine. Yeah. But if you want to really be good, you should learn the ins and outs.
Yeah, there's really no way around that. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, the only way everybody's going to get better is if they kind of take that leap to be able to work on their own bow and understand how they work and screw them up and make mistakes and learn from the mistakes and get better at the evolution of what you're doing. There's just no way around that.
Yeah.
So, and when this comes out, Levi will be shooting a new bow.
Ooh. When does that launch?
They're sneaking it this weekend. This weekend at some big outdoor shoot. Him and is it Dan? Yeah, they'll have the new Matthews target bow. So Matthews is releasing a new 36 and 38 axle to axle bow
at some outdoor shoot.
Mm-hmm. They're letting them leak it. They have it right now.
Is this like a?
I'm trying to remember the name of the shoot. It's this weekend. It's a big shoot. It's a big.
It's a pro shoot though.
It's a big pro shoot. Yeah, and they're going to be using those bows in public.
Yeah, a little leaky.
Yeah. So we still don't know if they're going to let us do pre-sales on them, but we're going to be able to pre-order them and have a bunch of them in. The launch date is actually like September 13th.
You know what it is right now?
I got a little bit of info.
Okay.
Just that it's 36 and 38. It has a bridge lock carbon stabilizer.
Well, we've been thinking that, this is going to be a big year for it.
Yeah, and I want to say they have new cams. It's a new cam system, new modules. Outside of that, you really couldn't tell me anything. They're $2,000 instead of $1,850. Mm-hmm. But that's it. I neglected to ask him if it was a shoot through or not. But
shoot throughs have been hot in the target scene.
Well, shoot throughs are traditionally considered to be a more accurate bow, but at the same time, the most popular selling bow right now is the Reckoning, and they're not shoot through, and they're still that 16 to 19 range. And the way, so part of the reason why, like Bowtech, for example, and I really think Matthews doesn't make a shoot through, is the type of machinery that they have. They use forgings, and it cuts out from one direction. So you can't do a shoot through with that. You can't. The machinery won't work. You need a different CNC, and you have to flip it over and cut both sides, and it just takes longer, costs more to make. So PSC does that. Darton does that. I'll say Darton is releasing 2 new target bows right now too. Hoyt will be releasing new stuff, but they haven't announced any of it yet, and I can't talk about it yet.
No tucky. Well, I'm telling you what, when I get through, I think really probably through September.
Mm-hmm.
When I get through September, I'm hammering down on indoor.
Yeah, that's about the right time. Most of the actual formatted leagues don't start till like December, but if you're smart, as soon as early season's over with, you pull out your target bow and really start working on your indoor stuff.
Yeah, I want to hammer down on it, and yeah, I enjoy it. I'm excited about it.
Indoor, the beautiful thing about indoor is you're literally just working on yourself. You're not working on your bow anymore. Mm-hmm. It's one distance. It's indoor. It's a controlled environment. And it's over and over and over. Your bow is not part of that equation.
It's the lab, right?
It's you.
For the lab.
Your form, your technique, your positioning of things. I mean, that's the lab. And that's what's great about it. And you should spend 3 to 4 months a year doing it. And don't even do anything else. Just that.
One thing that sneaks up on me is a little bit of a back of my mind concern. Because I've heard a couple of people say after they've shot a lot of faces, they start to, the famous TP thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, blind bailing usually will resolve that.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, is that common because of the design of those faces, that they're just kind of a hard aiming point? Or is that just a certain amount of repetition that, that tends to sneak into the back of someone's mind?
To me, it goes back to what I've always preached to anybody who wants to get good at archery. It has to be more important for you to make a good shot than to hit the middle of the target. I don't know. I've said that a freaking 100,000 times.
Yeah.
When you're trying to hit the middle of the target, you're not focusing on making a good shot. So the more repetition you have of trying to hit the middle of the target, the more it creeps into your head and you start thinking about the wrong things, you start focusing on the wrong things.
Little pendulum shift or whatever.
Yeah. So by taking the target away regularly and just shooting for making a good shot and a clean break and a good feel, you focus more on the things that matter. It's hard mentally to keep yourself caring about making a good shot as opposed to hitting the middle of the target when you're trying to hit the middle of the target.
Yeah. I always say the process leads to the results. Because there's some version of this in golf too that people struggle with. They identify themselves with a score or a handicap, or they count where they're at, and then the next thing you know, they fall apart because they're thinking about their score. And I always try to remind them, I'm like, the process leads to the results.
Yeah, I know there's. I'm trying to remember where I heard it from. It was, and I think it was a relation to football or something, but it was or like free throws or something like that. It was the repetition and the feel and the rhythm of everything has to remain the same. And when you hit that heightened moment where this one really counts, you start thinking about more crap. Now, that might have been Joel. I think I might have heard Joel say that.
But I talk about this some.
Yeah.
Pre-shot routine.
Yeah, your shot routine. Is your shot routine the same? Mm-hmm. If you really start all of a sudden focusing on every little aspect of your shot routine when you don't normally do that, it's not going to be the same. The whole thing is about being the same and keeping every moment the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, keeping it the same, making it like clockwork,
yeah.
And that primes your central nervous system to perform. You'll even see examples of this in golf where the best players, as they're in the lead on Sundays, they'll even like slow down a little. They'll slow down their gait. They'll be a little more present. They try not to get out over their feet, get jittering around. And Tiger was famous for that. He would slow down a little bit when he was running away with it, or even in competing or whatever. So, yeah, but I really think that pre-shot routine, I think it's important for me, and I just haven't developed one and it's crazy that I just haven't compared the two and been like, dude, you have to have a pre-shot routine. I just don't have it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm trying to remember how long I've had the same pre-shot routine for, but it's been a long time.
You probably can't even remember.
No. Well, I think about when I was probably 20. When I developed my pre-shot routine.
Give a couple fundamentals to a pre-shot routine, or describe yours.
All right. So I'll get up to my my shooting position, and I will put my feet where they belong in my sequence, slightly open, left foot turned open just a little bit, and back a little bit from the right. And then I won't move my feet. Period. Like until I'm got to walk down and pull my arrows, or I got to step off the line. I'm not moving my feet. I'm not bouncing my heels. I'm nothing. That stays the same. And then I look down and I position my hips and then my shoulders in a straight line over each. And then I will, at that point, my bow's usually on the ground because I have a stabilizer long enough to set it on the ground straight down. I'll pull an arrow out of my quiver. I'll roll it, drop it in, hook it on, and then I'll focus my head and shoulder position where I want them. Hook onto my bow. This is after my third breath, mind you, 3 long, slow, deep breaths before I pick up my bow. I'll pick it up. I'll point it back down at the target. I'll set my shoulder where I want it. I'll breathe in. I'll breathe out all the way. Rotate my shoulder up and back in. Breathe in. Again, breathe out half. And then center in. Line up. Click if I'm using a click and pull. So that's, and I'm really adamant about getting my head in the position it's going to be at when I fire before I even lift the bow up. Like, put your head in the position it's going to be at when you finish. So you don't move it. That's your rear aiming point. Why would you move it around? It doesn't make any sense. Some people get all this kind of stuff,
I see some people tilt their neck into it even a little bit as they shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But ideally, your head's in the position that it's going to be at when it goes off before you pull the bow back. And I always try to point at the target and draw at the target and look at the target. The sooner that pin is centered, the less time you're at full draw. And in a perfect world, I want to be 7 to 11 seconds at draw. I want to avoid being longer than that because you really start to move a lot more after you get past that point because you're out of oxygen.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was you've always been big on making sure you've got oxygen, and that makes a ton of sense. You talked about your feet being open, and so your hips and your shoulders are going to match that, right?
Yeah.
Call that.
Yeah, so I'll put my feet slightly open to the target.
Call
so if
that 15 degrees, maybe.
Not even. It's probably less than that. It's
really?
Probably smaller. Yeah. I'll put an arrow at my feet when I'm first trying to learn where I'm pointed at, and I'll point the arrow at the target.
So if 12 o'clock is at the target.
Yeah, if the arrow's pointed at the target, I'll put my toe touching the shaft, my left toe, and my right joint in my toe at the knock. So my left foot's back that much from my right, probably. That's where I found that I'm the most comfortable and most consistent. So that's just how I do it. And it's a slightly barely open stance. It's what my left foot's 2 inches max back from my right. And then I always open my toes a little bit. I don't keep them straight. So your lateral movement tends to be less when you open your stance just a little bit on your foot position. But that's where my toes are at.
Yeah. A little bit of toe flare. I think most people have a little bit of toe flare naturally. Mm-hmm. So if they truly square their toes, you're a little bit out of joint alignment. But
well, if you square your toes, if I walk up to you and push you sideways, you'll fall over. Yeah. If you rotate your feet out, you have a harder platform.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're trying to move less. So the more solid your platform is, the less you're going to move.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that stuff's really important. There's a couple small things that are keys that you kind of glazed over. Like, I think setting your front shoulder.
Yeah, getting your shoulder down before
you draw. That's something I've kind of had to rework on recently because I was kind of drawing and trying to set my shoulder simultaneously.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
You're going to automatically raise it up.
Yeah.
So if you lock it down before you draw back, it stays down.
So I've done that recently, about the last 10 days.
It's hard.
And it is hard.
It's probably the hardest. It's probably the hardest physical thing to do.
I feel like you lose some drawing power, which is fine.
You do.
Because anytime you're learning something new or using new muscles, that tends to be fine. Mm-hmm. Or it happens. It's natural is what I'm saying. But when I've done that and I really felt so I'll feel kind of my lat suck my shoulder down.
Yep.
And when I feel that happening and I get my bow drawn back, everything comes back and it's helped with pin float for sure.
Yeah, and when you do that, you're engaging your left lat scap area and flexing your back like you're supposed to through the shot. So that's the push part of the push-pull. Mm-hmm. So you automatically start your push muscle pressure before you ever pull the bow back, so you're already engaged. As long as you bring the backside in and up. So if you're, like as your hand's coming back to your face, when I get to about here, I'll rotate my shoulder up, which is engaging the scat in the back. And that gets tight just like that.
Yeah, and that's something I tried to do in the past, but I guess I just wasn't doing a very good job at it. But
well, I'll try to make a video that kind of covers that a little better because I don't think I've ever really... I've talked about my hand grip a lot, but I haven't really focused on how to draw your bow correctly with the right muscles engaged.
Yeah, you should do a deep dive, and you should do more shooting stuff. Like
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do like one a week here when I ramp up in October, November, but we'll see.
If I was a betting man right now, I would bet that'll actually be your most popular content because I think there's a need and a thirst for it. And if we looked at some of our historical videos that live back on Dan's channel, some of the biggest ones are shooting tips, or the baby bird type stuff.
Yeah.
I think, and the internet has some of that, but it's just come from, there's not a lot, right? It's coming kind of from just a couple directions. So we need more of that on the internet, more good information.
No, I'm not opposed to it. I'll definitely work on that. I just hadn't got to it because I don't have enough time. Mm-hmm. I've been working on so many different things that are all just consume time, and it's like trying to evaluate what's more important and what I really need to focus on as opposed to what I happen to be doing currently. It's just tricky. But I know that's important, and I need to just write it down. Really, I need to break it down, have it nice little schedule, nice little calendar, and jot each one down.
Calendars, baby.
Sit down a month ahead of time and fill it all out. But it gets tricky because I'll get like, oh, hey, we got a new product coming out in like 2 weeks. We're going to send it to you, and that means you have to have that done in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
so
and then that kind of moves in front of your schedule.
It moves stuff around, so it's a little tough. Plus, when you hit this time of year, we start getting so freaking busy. The free time to do that starts getting gobbled up. Or when we got scheduling conflicts, like you're going to be gone, so we had to pre-make videos that are with you ahead of time, so you have time to edit them and schedule them and whatnot. And I'm going to be gone 2 weeks after you, so I have a little more time.
We're going to be running different directions.
I'll be overrunning my end of things here in the next 2 weeks after this one once we're done because you're gone next week. And you get pulled a lot, and trying to get it all in and have enough to where it's still, coming out. This last week was the first week I didn't put out 3 videos since I started doing that because I just ran out. And with the time demands we had last week, I didn't make another one, and I went to look and I'm like, crap, I don't have another one. And I'm only going to have probably 2 this week too, because my daughter went in to get her wisdom teeth out today, and I don't know when she's going to feel better to be able to edit. So if she's doing that, then I got to do it, and I got to edit 2 more podcasts or 3 more podcasts before this weekend's up, so we can schedule those and they're ready to go. And then I got to squeeze that in too. It's crazy, folks. There's so much to do, and I need to film like 6 videos this week, and have at least 3 of them edited by Sunday.
I don't really stress out, but I have been feeling pressed this week. There's a lot, just a lot to get done to be ready to be gone. And
I try doing my workload.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It's nuts. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's too much. It really is. I need to. I think after this year it'll get better. I think I'll have enough going on, enough staff, enough like other things managed to where I can spend a lot more time doing this, so it doesn't feel like such a strain. I've still really only managed to snake about 10 hours a week, and I was really hoping for 25 by now. And I'm still trying to get all this done.
Oh, for 25 for content?
Yeah. Just working on content, which is why I haven't had consistent stuff on my Instagram, because I'm like, all right, I committed to the YouTube videos. I got to get those done first. And then when I get ahead on that, I can start saying, okay, time to put stuff out every day or 3 times a day or 4 times a day on Instagram.
That's what
and
happens.
Start catching ahead on that. And I just don't have the time.
That happens to my Instagram too. If I'm ever just quiet on Instagram, it's because I'm just working on other stuff, because that's the first thing that falls off, because it's not a priority to me. YouTube videos are a priority. Mm-hmm. I have other things that are priority, and Instagram's cool, but yeah.
Well, I need all of it to be a priority because I've always got so much I can freaking do. And for one reason or another, it's the first thing that goes, and I just get too much going on, get pulled in too many directions. And I'm not taking like more personal time for myself. I'm constantly doing stuff.
Yeah, man. These people are going to go buy some stuff, maybe. Maybe they're getting ready for season. Maybe they want to save some money. Maybe they want to use that little discount code, Tim C. Huh? That still works?
That's still cranking, man. Still works. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I haven't looked. I got to check where we're at on that this last month. I forgot about that.
Yeah, out of curiosity. It'd be cool. But yeah, Tim C will get you 10% off on Josh's website. And, since we're short,
keep adding stuff every day, too.
That's our ad read.
Yeah, we're freaking...
Because freaking Refresh hasn't sponsored us, have they?
Safeway going to sponsor us.
Has La Colombe sponsored us yet? Do we have that yet? Oh, okay.
No, I don't think we're big enough yet to expect to have a sponsor.
That's all right. Then we have to sponsor we.
Yes, we're self-funded. Yeah, brought to you by me. Me and Ricky Bobby.
Brought to you by me. Man, I think that's the pod.
Oh, was that an hour?
It's close enough. I got to go to a concert.
Oh, yeah.
We are...
Big time backstage pass, big boy. We didn't even talk about that. We should talk about that.
We don't know yet. Well,
Big swinging
I'll talk
dick
about
over
that.
here getting backstage passes.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I'll have a story to share hopefully next podcast.
Okay, well, there we go.
So you should be subscribed for that wherever you're watching it.
Or how will you know when it's coming?
That's it.
That's the whole point.
How would you know?
Jeez. Subscribe already.
This is an hour-long podcast where we sit down in the middle of Josh's busy week, my busy week.
Oh, dude.
And yeah, we're just out here talking to a microphone. Hoping a few people will watch and get inspired to go shoot their bow. Go shoot your bow.
As you should.
Go shoot your bow. And if you got a hunt coming up, good luck. Hunt hard, be safe, and enjoy your time in the field.
See ya.